Welcome to the New Author Podcast, a weekly podcast diary starring Jerry Evanoff and Rich Kacy. Join them weekly as they talk about writing, publishing, and marketing their books. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Monday, September 22nd, 2025, episode number 328. I am one of the hosts of this podcast, Jerry Evanoff, and with me, as he is each week, is Rich Kacy. And Rich, you'll notice I got the intro correct that time. I didn't make any mistakes.
I was going to make a comment on it if you did not. Yeah.
And here's what I did. I literally just pushed play and then took my hand off the mouse and just let it do what it wanted to do.
All right.
I think that my problem is I keep wanting to stop it and restart. I'm learning. I'm growing up a little. As I told one of my coworkers last week, I'm finally becoming an adult because she saw me eating a salad and needed to point it out.
Well, better late than never, I guess.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no doubt. So, all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I mean, it's fall is in the air. It was a crisp 91 degrees here today. Tigers are losing hand over fist because they don't want their trip to Disneyland to be interrupted by having to make the playoffs. So, but things are going well. It was a good week.
Yeah, same here. As a Cleveland baseball fan, really, I'm just a front runner. I really don't care if they win or lose. It is nice to see them doing well. But as I told you before we started hit record, this is something I would never admit to my mom. I actually am rooting for them to not win. I'm rooting for Detroit to win because I don't want it to disrupt my downtown drive that I have to make 2 days a week with day games, playoff games.
Yeah.
So,
it's
a win. It's a win-win for me.
I can see why. I mean, jacking up your parking rates and everything.
Yeah, I remember opening day, getting in the car at 5:45 and just checking the price of the parking. It was $60 at the place that I normally park at. So but we can't have that. So
no.
And the Browns won yesterday, so that was good. And I wrote a whole bunch of words. Let me jump into my stats for last week.
Okay.
The goal for me last week was to finish book one. If you remember, I did the math and said 7,500 words. But the goal really was to finish book one. Realize how many words it took. So I'm not going to reveal whether I hit the goal or not, but I'll give you a hint. I wrote 8,387 words last week to get book 1.5 up to 10,807.
That's amazing.
It really is. And well, there was an extra unexpected writing session that I'll talk about later. My word count for the year is up to 158,423. And I think I said 2 weeks ago that I wouldn't be writing anymore and that I decided to rewrite book 1.5. Well, I'll say it again, and that's going to be another hint to whether I finish the book or not. I won't be writing any more words this year. So 158,423 is probably where we're going to end. My words per hour, though, did drop hard to 1,290. That's only down 4 from last week. But I say dropped hard because after Saturday, after 2 days ago, it was 1,296. And then yesterday, I managed to drop it down 6 words in one day. And again, I'll talk about why in that unexpected writing session in my weekly recap. So I had a good week.
That still doesn't seem possible to me, after all the writing you've done for things to fluctuate that much. I mean, I guess really it's not that much. It's like 0.5%, but still, it seems like a big move.
I don't know. It's what the math said, and the math got me right. Yeah. I mean, the guy that wrote the formulas, as long as he got them right, well, that was me. And, I believe it was Naked Gun who said there's a 50-50 chance I got those numbers right, and there's a 10% chance of that. So.
That's right. Well, for me, I actually did a bit of writing, which I haven't been doing for the last few weeks. My Cozy Mystery is up 3,053 words to 38,940 words. I'm editing that book right now, and the reason why I had so many words there is that I actually decided I needed a new chapter in between chapter 1 and chapter 2, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we hit it. But my total words for the year is 171,902 words of a 200,000 word goal. So I'm inching closer. Still have over 3 months to go. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about being able to hit that goal.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you got back into it. That's great. Tuesday. So let's recap my week. Tuesday, I was in the office, and at some point, how did I do this? I read the first chapter of our book club book. I don't know if I mentioned it last week. It's Geneva Rose or Geneva Rose. It's called, I don't remember what it's called. Something about all the bodies are left at home. What is it called? Here it is.
all,
Home
all
is
the
where
bo-
the bodies are.
all the bodies in the basement by
Something
Dave.
like that, yeah. Home is where the bodies are by Geneva Rose. And I read the first chapter of that book last week, and I realized, boy, she got right into the plot. I had 1,700 words in my first chapter, which is way too many words. So I knew at that moment I was going to have to definitely trim that chapter down pretty far. I need to get into it instead of just, meandering for 1,400 words before I get to the last 300 where the actual inciting incident happened. So I knew I was going to have to do that. Yeah, I just knew I was going to have to do that. I was thinking, I think I figured that out on my way on my way into the office. I was thinking about it. Or no, wait, did I stay home that day? No, I was in the office that day. So I did call. I had a dentist appointment scheduled for Wednesday, which I thought I wouldn't be able to write on Wednesday. So I did call and move that to December. I remember talking to you about this, I don't know, months ago, and you had mentioned that you were dropping your dentist appointments down to like once a year, maybe once every 8 or 9 months. And I kind of thought to myself that they're kind of like oil changes, right? They say 3,000 to 5,000 miles, but I think that's a scam. I was doing oil changes every 12,000 miles and my car was fine. I think dentist appointments are kind of the same way. I think I can go every 9 months and be just as fine.
They have boat payments to make just like every other doctor, so they want to see you as often as possible.
Exactly right. And then at lunch, I did go across the street and grab some Subway because I didn't take any lunch with me. And thanks to the slowest Subway sandwich maker in the history of Subway sandwich makers, I only had about 45 minutes to write after I finished eating. I had continued where I left off in chapter 2, adding 821 words. And then I started chapter 3, adding 443 words. I actually ended up with 1,264 words in about 45 minutes, which was more than I expected. Yeah, I was, I had my word count going up per hour, at that point.
I'm thinking that he probably doesn't think of himself as a sandwich maker. He's a sandwich artisan.
He was like, I like when I go there and they just slap everything on the bun and then fold it up and wrap it up and give it to me. He's like, 1 tomato, center, next tomato. Yeah. And I said, extra black olives, big mistake. You got to get olives and they get more.
He's an artist. He's an artist.
Yeah, he is an artist. He is an artiste, definitely. So pretty good. 1,264 words over 45 minutes. That finished chapter 2, got me into chapter 3. And then got home in the evening last week, did nothing. These not having to golf anymore on Tuesdays. I love golf. I love it. But I'm so happy that I'm home on Tuesday nights now. I kind of wish our league was on the weekend because I really like just coming home after work and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Which is what I did on that day. I did nothing. Wednesday, I worked from home. And at lunch, I just I canceled my dentist appointment. I can go ahead and write. And I literally just sat at the computer surfing the web while I ate, doing nothing. I don't think I was even browsing social media. I don't know what I was doing. I also spent a little bit of time setting up my next football game, which I played later in the evening and finished it actually yesterday. And after playing the football game for an hour, I did a little bit of research. This was something I wanted to talk about I talked about last week at the end of the podcast, where I wanted to do a little bit more marketing of the podcast. So this Riverside app, when it creates the 60-minute video, it also just automatically creates like 10 to 12 1-minute segments on something that it thinks is an interesting topic that one of us is talking about. And you can kind of go through there and pick. So I went through there and picked 3 of the ones I liked. I did a little bit of editing on them, cut off maybe a little bit of extra words at the beginning or at the end that didn't matter to the actual subject. And then I scheduled them to be published as YouTube shorts throughout the week. So I did one Thursday, one Friday, and one Sunday. I gave ChatGPT the transcript of the podcast from this Riverside FM, and I asked it to create brand new show notes for both Spotify and YouTube in an effort to get more views or listens. And I made a couple little changes, grammar changes, or changing, like I didn't want it to look like it was coming from my point of view. I always try to make it look like it's coming from the listener's point of view, and it says Jerry and Rich, not me and Rich, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I changed a little bit of that, and then I just posted it, and we'll just see what happens. I have no idea. I'm going to do this every week now for a while and just see if I can increase, especially the YouTube listeners. I'm trying to increase that number. We have like 30 subscribers. I'd like to get that up into the 3 digits at some point. So
yeah. Do you ever see stats for Spotify or YouTube or whatever?
I don't really go looking, other than I look at the views and the downloads. They're pretty low. Other than that, I don't really go looking for anything else. I know you've said in the past, and I've read online in the past, you can't really trust the numbers. They're probably higher than what they actually say. Yeah. But they're really low, and I'd like them to be higher than that.
Sure. Yeah.
So And I really like doing this podcast. I think it's fun. I think we're pretty, I think we're a good listen for people. We're not giving like all this great writing advice. We're not doing interviews, although I wouldn't be opposed to one. We're just kind of talking about our lives and what it's like to be like full-time employees. And, you're married, I'm single, we have these different lives, and how we mix writing in with it. I think it's a good subject.
Yeah, and we provide a great negative example because people always point at us and go, I could do better than that.
So. Absolutely. We are people to not only look up to, but to look past.
That's right. Definitely
what we
past.
are. So, yeah.
I can step on those people to get higher.
Exactly. So I like that. All right. So I did post those and schedule them. Thursday, I went back into the office. At lunch, I continued writing through chapter 3, which is really going to be chapters 3, 4, and 5. But I have to figure out where each chapter begins and ends. So I just wrote the entire thing in chapter 3. And when I sit down to start editing it this week, I will go ahead and there's a hint. I will go ahead and break it up into places. It might end up being chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on how I break it up into multiple chapters. I wrote 895 more words. It's so funny. The previous day I wrote 1,200 or the previous workday, 1,264 in 45 minutes. This time I wrote 864 in 45, 895 in 45. So a lot less, I probably wasn't as prepared in terms of the plotting of that chapter as I was for the previous one. So, and then Rich, in the evening, the shiny things hit me.
Oh no.
Yeah, this is, I managed to avoid it as much as possible over the rest of the week, but the shiny things hit me. I was scrolling through Instagram as I'm wont to do in the evening, and I ran across a video of a girl sitting at a computer. She's probably in her 20s, sitting at a computer, and she's texting with her guy friend, right? But you can tell by the way she's reacting to the text, she wants to be more than a friend. I don't know if he does. I can't tell if he does. And it's given the whole good morning, she sees a good morning text in the morning. She's excited, and then at some point throughout it, he says something like, I have a date tonight, and you see her face kind of drop. And then she's sitting there looking at her phone later, and she says, how was the movie? No answer. She's sad. Then finally he replies and says, it was fine. And she's like, okay. And then he says, good night, and she's back to being happy. And I was like, this is like a really interesting story of, like a friends to lovers romance, which I enjoy. I don't read very often, but I do like reading them when I read. And I had this idea just pop into my head, of course, because that's what happens. And I went to ChatGPT and just began plotting like crazy. And all I can think is, what am I doing? I have a murder mystery series of 9 books, 10, 11 books. I need to edit. What am I doing? But I just kept going. By the time I was done, I had a plot that was a little bit different than the formulaic Hallmark style movie. Not much, but the ending was something that I think is a little bit different. It's a happy ending, but it may not be what the reader expected. And I'm really, really happy. Like, it's a really cool twist. I think about halfway through the book, you realize what's going on, but that's okay. It's a really, really cool twist. I don't know if I want to spoil. I'll spoil it. Because I probably will never write it. But you in a Hallmark movie, I'm thinking Hallmark movie, like in a Hallmark movie like this, you get the male character, the female character, and the female character is the main character of these books. We know how this goes. It's always about the actors. The male characters are always the same cardboard cutout of every other male character. I wanted this one to be a little bit more from the male character's point of view than the female. So there's a little bit of difference there. And I wanted you to like really feel like the want that this male character had. And then what I'm writing, I'm getting through it. And then I realized what I should do is, and then in the end they get together, predictable, whatever. What I decided to do was write it from the point of view of the female character's sister and the male character's best friend. And all they're doing is like over and over being like, those two are so going to get together. Look at them. Look what they're doing. Look how they're she's got her head on his shoulder. And about halfway through the book, we realize the story is not about those two. It's about the sister and the best friend who in the end they get together.
Oh,
that
would be good for a novel. When you were setting this up initially, I thought of a twist immediately, but it would only be good for about a short story because that's all that you would want to carry it. Maybe 5 to 10,000 words, something like that. And the twist is that this person the girl is texting with is actually an AI agent, and they do get together at the end, but it's only online. But she's happy with that. Yeah,
but she's happy. That's actually not a bad ending because it's a happy ending.
You can't pick up a news magazine or anything without finding an article about people falling in love with their AI and stuff. So
I've seen this. Yeah. So mine was just coming to the realization that it's the other two characters. And it's Thursday. I'm just playing around with it in the evening. I'm messing around. I've got characters. I've got a Google Doc with all the chapters. I could write it right now. It's just it's not plotted very well chapter by chapter, so it would take me a long time to write it. But if I plotted this thing out more, I could probably write it really fast. I mean, these kind of movies are not, or these kind of books are not hard to, well, they're probably hard to write, but they're not hard reads. So I can't imagine they're hard to write as like a murder mystery with a twist or a sci-fi with something.
And you just kind of made a Freudian slip there in the fact that you know Hallmark movies inside and out, and you could just do it. Yeah. So
Christmas movies start in like 3 weeks. So be prepared.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the Christmas movies. So I went to bed. I watched the Thursday night football game, went to bed, and again, really happy with the shiny things. And this is new shiny things, because shiny things get me every couple of weeks. I don't know about you, but shiny things get me every couple of weeks. It's annoying.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
So Friday, I'm up to work now. It's a half a day on this day. At 11 o'clock, I shut my laptop and went to Hothead, got my burrito, and then, of course, I'm ready to start editing. And what do? Well, let's go back to the romance real quick while I'm eating and play around a little bit more. So I played around a little bit more with it, and I really like this, and I kind of really want to write it. But I say that like once a month on this podcast, so about something. So then I went back to this is where I forced myself to go back to book 1.5. Started working more on the middle section, the chapter 3, 4, 5 section. Added 1,787 words in about 75 minutes. I'm just about to get to the climax moment of the story, but I do have a false ending to this story that I'm going to talk about in a minute. I completely rearranged everything, I believe, on Saturday. And the false ending is now no longer a false ending. It's actually an ending. And then the second climax, because there's 2 climaxes, chapter 5 and chapter 7, where you think you have the ending in chapter 5, then you realize in chapter 7 you don't, and now you have this ending. And they weren't really connected at all. And I'll get to that in a second. So came home, and it's a Saturday. It's a Friday. I didn't do anything the rest of the day. I watched some YouTube. I made some dinner. I picked up my dog and just kind of sat around and watched TV. It was great. Didn't play my football game. No.
This is pretty normal for me. I mean, I don't know what happens to my day after I get home and I eat. It just disappears.
Well, I'm not reading your recap from the outline. I am reading mine. So
yeah.
Maybe they're starting to mesh a little bit here. Saturday, I was up at 5 a.m. to golf. I'm really starting to run out of weekends, which sucks. I got about 5 left. We got there about 6:45. So the course is closed. They don't open until 7. I think the first tee time was like 7:04. I called last Sunday and said, hey, how about me and my buddy Dave just come up? I have a cart key. I'll just go out before they even open. And the guy on Sunday said, yeah, go ahead and do that. So we got there at 6:45. We got on the cart. I love the idea of me walking up into the barn, driving my own cart out there. Well, the people that are golfing at 7:04, they can't even get into the building, and I'm driving a cart around. Like, how do you get a key? And so I take one home.
You have a key to the barn?
No, it's always open because the greenskeepers are there.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But I have a key to the cart. Yeah. So I did not feel like I played very well, but I ended up shooting an 87. So I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah. Breaking 90, always the goal. So 89 would have been fun. It would have been a little higher than I wanted, but 89 would have been fun. 87 I'll take an 87. After that, I was home briefly, and then I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I had 4 scenes left to write in this book. I wrote one of them inside the chapter 3 text. Then I wrote chapter 6. I started on chapter 7, which is the final chapter. So I wrote 2.5 of the 4 scenes I still had to write. Total of 1,754 words, which, what was the previous? 1787. Oh, at least I'm consistent. That was over about 85 minutes. 1,754 words over about 85 minutes. Got home, played my football game, got some dinner. But then while I was home, Rich, I also made a major financial decision.
Uh-oh.
And that decision was to pay off my car. And I did. I paid off my car. I pulled some money out of my savings, paid it off. I'll put the money back when I get paid in a week. And my car, I checked today. That was on Saturday. I checked today, and on the website it says this is paid off in big letters. So I'm very happy.
Always fun.
It's so exciting. Yeah.
The next fun thing is when you get the letter in the mail that your title is on the way, and then you get the title. Yep.
Then you get the title, and now there's no more payments on it. So that makes me very happy. Sunday, I was up early, not because I wanted to, but because Max wanted to. I got up at like 5:50, and I just didn't go back to bed. Hung out for a couple hours. Then I went to Panera to do some writing since there was no golf on this day. I wrote the final chapter, and then I did what I've done a few times while writing all the books in this series. I completely changed the murderer. And it's a bit of a twisty ending now to where, and I'm going to spoil it. So if you don't want to hear it, And Rich, I'm going to ask you if you want to read this for me. It's about 9,000 to 10,000 words. Would you be a
Sure.
beta reader for me?
Yeah, sure.
It would be about 40 pages in a paperback. So once I get it done, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But I'm going to spoil the ending. And if you want to hear it, Rich, you can go ahead and mute.
Nah, that's okay.
Weird. Yeah, okay. I'm going to spoil the ending
with my memory. I'll forget it.
Yeah, there you go. So in book 1.5, I needed a mystery, but I also needed to further Sam's parents' plot. What's going on with the murder of his parents? And this is the first time he's really doing any kind of talking or digging into it. Because in book 1, we were just kind of pretending that it was an accident. But in book 1.5, he starts to think, well, maybe there's something to it. So he gets called to the library of his old college. He goes down there. There was a murder there. There's 3 suspects. And in the end, we realized the janitor did it. He had something, he had found something in his locker that he was really happy about. And it turns out that thing opened up doors, and he was able to open a door and kill the woman who got done. Well, then we find out in chapter 7 that no. This guy, Fred, who shows up in a lot of books down the line, he actually did it, and he framed this guy because the woman that got killed was asking too many questions that could blow Fred's cover on the overall plot of the story. So that's kind of what I did. I didn't describe it very well, but I decided on that on Sunday. Very excited about this. I think this makes the story so much better. It makes the series better, keeps the story going from book 1 to 1.5 and 1.5 to 2. So I'm really happy with this. And I hope you didn't really understand that because I kind of mumbled. That's the first time I said it out loud. That way it'll still be a surprise for you when you read it.
I'm sure it will.
The biggest issue that I had was coming up with the final clue that Sam uses to determine that the janitor did it, even though he's wrong in this book. And then it took me a while. I did some arguing with ChatGPT, and in the end, I just said, this is what I want. And I want to involve a 1989 Sony Walkman as part of the clue, which I did. And very, very happy with it. It worked out well. All I had left now was that, what is the word? How do you say it? Denouement. It's going to be chapter 5. That's all I have is to write that scene. I had already written chapter 7, the second ending, as if it was, what I'd planned is what it turned out to be. So I just had to write chapter 5, and it was on my mind all day. At home, I did a little bit of cleaning. I did my grocery order. I took out the garbage. I did some dishes, all the basic cleaning up as an adult that I should do so that I can go back to being a kid. And football started, and it was a fun day, not only because the Browns got the win, a win they probably shouldn't have gotten, but also because my fantasy teams are doing well. And so at 4 o'clock, I came back here, I played my football game while I watched Red Zone. And then in the evening, it was about 7:30, I kept thinking about that plot. And I grabbed my laptop, I put the football game on the small TV and muted it. And I put a YouTube channel. Guy's name is Dave Gardner. He plays a lot of the same games I do. He plays way more than I do. He's been around for a while. Like he's like I'm going to use the term OG. Kids say that of board gaming on YouTube. And he was doing just a kind of a 2-hour just conversation. He'll get on every now and then and just talk. And I listen to him talk. It's kind of like a podcast I can sit and listen to. And while those two things were on those two TVs, I grabbed my laptop and I wrote the final scene. Now, writing a scene while you're watching football and listening to Dave Gardner takes a little bit longer than normal.
Right.
It took me about 100 minutes to write the 1,360 words, and that's what dropped my words per hour down pretty far. This is the extra writing session I didn't expect. By the time I was finished, book 1, spoiler alert, book 1.5 is now finished. That was the last scene I had to write. I managed to finish it when I wanted to, which made me really happy. Actually, I finished it a day early. The final word count for Sunday was 2,730 over 160 total minutes. And that's not right because I did the math wrong there. 100 plus, I think it was like 125 minutes overall, but it was 2,730 words. And the final word count for this book 1.5 is 10,607. I think that's wrong too. I think it's 10,807. I'm going to call it 10,807 because I believe it was an 807. And I went to bed. I watched most of the rest of the game. It's kind of a boring game, Giants Chiefs. And I went to bed sometime in the fourth quarter, and very happy, very good day. Fantasy football is doing well. Got to write a whole bunch of words. I got my groceries. I didn't have to go into the grocery store to get them. Like overall, it's just a good day.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, and giving up on that Chiefs game is probably the best thing you did all day because it was boring. It was
definitely
a lot of really pedestrian football.
Yeah, I had Malik Neighbors in a couple of fantasy leagues, and hey, thanks for the 2 catches for 17 yards. Today I woke up at I don't know what time it was, 6:30, 6 o'clock for work. Working from home on this day, and let's talk quickly about book covers. I many years ago ordered credits off of what's the website? Oh man, it's pre-made covers. I really like the guy. I like his newsletter he sends out. He does really nice pre-made covers, and he was running a Black Friday sale like everybody does. And it's Go On Right. It's James at goonwrite.com. GOON Write, WRIT.com. And I bought like 7 credits, or I don't know how many, and whatever it was. Well, I had at one point 4 credits left. And I had him make me like 2 years ago. Once I finished book 1, I had him make me 4 covers that had titles. And they're all the same. And I thought, ooh, 4 short stories. The covers are different from the novels, those ones, but they're together. They're their own thing. So that works out really well. They're kind of branded together as short stories. The novels are branded together as their own thing. I'm cool with that. I don't like the titles. I changed my mind on what they should be. Rewriting book 1.5, I'm changing the title. Last year, I bought a couple of credits at Black Friday from 100 Covers. I really like their work, and I am going to use one of those credits to have a cover for book 1.5 redone and get a paperback cover for it also. I really like the Go On Right stuff. I look at his stuff all the time, and I recommend it to people if they're looking for cheap is the wrong word. That sounds negative, but less expensive book covers that you get them. He does them quick. He does them quick and turns them back around to you. So I would definitely recommend them. But in this case, I'm going to go to my 100 Covers credits and go with that. So
sounds good.
At lunch, I walked across the streets of the library. I really had to force myself to do it. Began editing chapter 1, and I immediately cut 800 words from the middle of it. It was around 900 words, and then by the time I was finished editing, it was around 1,100. So that took the book down to 10,098 words, which is where we sit right now. And then, I worked, and then after work, I made some dinner, and I played my football game. I got the next game out. I'm playing Buffalo and New England from 1983. I played the first quarter and a half or so and finished about a half an hour before we started the podcast. So, and that was my week, because I had a really good week. I finished my book, and the Browns won. So what more can I ask for?
Not much. I mean, just having the Browns win is an apocalyptic weekend.
Shocking. Yeah, shocking. Shocking to everyone.
All right, my weekend review. Last Tuesday, I was up at 8 a.m. and then after breakfast, I popped a couple of the leaves.
Nice.
And it did. It worked great on my back, just like you said it would. And then I proceeded to lay about 10 feet of concrete path before I go to work. So by the time I got to work, my back's hurting again.
Yeah, way to work against the drug there.
Exactly. But I am at that point, I was about 20 or 30 feet from finishing basically the major part of my cement project. There'll be a few other little side things I have to do, but that'll finish off most of it. I knocked off a little bit after 10, I showered and had lunch, then drove to the library. Once then, I had to spend a couple of hours hunting down lost books and helping patrons. I mean, it's always fun to search for books that aren't there. So you're not expecting to find anything, and you don't. It got a little quiet around 2 p.m. for whatever reason, and I had time to find a copy of Lydia Davis's Essay 1, which is a book of essays that she wrote. This is apparently kind of almost like a Bible of literary writers. She wrote these essays in various magazines and stuff about the craft of writing and about the writing life. She herself as a writer is famous for her short stories. And I had to look up one of them just to see. And she writes stories. Some short stories are very short, but they're still very powerful in the way in which she uses imagery and imagination. I just thought I'd give you an example of one here. The title of it was called In a House Besieged, and the total is one short paragraph. And the story is, in a house besieged lived a man and a woman. From where they cowered in the kitchen, the man and the woman heard small explosions. The wind, said the woman. Hunters, said the man. The rain, said the woman. The army, said the man. The woman wanted to go home, but she was already home, there in the middle of the country in a house besieged. So I just thought that was amazing. For it's a complete story. It's got a beginning, middle, and an end, and it's just real powerful, and it's very short. It's really weird. So it just shows what you can do with very few sentences and making use of a repetitive structure, both in terms of the way the sentences are structured and the use of the words. And I think that's probably part of what gives the story its power. It's just to have that kind of repetition in there.
It reminded me of the oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, which of course breaks all the rules that you're told. You're told not to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But here, she did it anyways.
It reminded me of the 100-word story contest that I entered many years ago.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I actually enjoyed. I was gonna highlight this and see how many words it was. And the first thing I thought of, I don't know if I can actually do that, but it reminded me of as you're reading, I just thought, it's Civil War. Something happened in the middle of Civil War. Yeah. I wonder if she writes it being like open to interpretation, however the reader wants to open.
Yeah, right. Interpret it. Right. Basically, she does. And I don't know how many words. Did you find out, or?
I didn't.
Okay, let's see. Just for the hell of it. It is. You're right. You can't get a word count, can you?
Here, I'll paste it into Word.
Okay. I'll just continue then. I got off the public desk at about 3:30 p.m. and I went into the back to watch a recorded version of the first Artisan University session that Johnny B. Truant is holding over the next 10 weeks. I mean, he waffled on about a bunch of preliminary stuff in the beginning, and by the time he got to the actual meat of the lecture, I was getting hungry, so I put it on pause.
That's a great sentence. By the time he got to the meat of it, I was getting hungry.
That's right. Well, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're right.
That's a great sentence. Yeah.
I went to Cane's, which is a chicken finger place, and then came back to my boss wanting to know what I did with a bunch of lease books that were not supposed to be thrown out. Now, I told you, I think in the past, they've been culling books, which they do frequently, and you have to go through a process in order to remove them from the catalog, and then you end up stamping them as discards and kind of getting rid of them. And in our case, we have to throw them out because nobody else wants them. A small fraction of them go to this place called Better World, which sells used books. It gives the library a little bit of a kickback, but in general they don't want a whole lot of the kind of books that you're getting rid of for the exact same reason that you're getting rid of them, because nobody's checking them out, nobody's reading them, nobody's asking for them. Well, but there were some when she did the weeding, about 25 to 30 books that were actually what we are called McNaughton books. And McNaughton's a company that leases books to libraries. And typically these will be the big sellers where you have to get in like 30 or 50 copies or whatever to keep up with the immediate demand when people find out a new book has been released, say by Stephen King or somebody. And then maybe every now and then one or two of the copies end up on your shelves for longer than the 6-month lease period, but you can turn them back in at any time and the library gets that some kind of deposit back. I don't know what it was. Well, I wasn't supposed to throw out this section of books, and they were sitting right next to the books that I was throwing out. So of course she showed them to me. I said, okay, I won't throw them out. I boxed them up, I put them on the side, and then I binned the whole lot, forgetting that I had boxed them up. So I got to go dumpster diving
nice.
to retrieve them. And there's two things I want to say about this. Number one, I'm glad I boxed them up separately because I was able to easily find. Well, not easily. I had to open every single box in that dumpster in order to find them, but I eventually found them. So I was able to retrieve them in the library and turn them back in. But the second thing I wanted to say is that being able to get in and out of dumpsters is really a life skill that everybody needs to know, because you never know when you might have to end up taking shelter in a dumpster someday. And it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Even for a guy like me who's 67, and I was still able to pull myself up into one and to get out of it afterwards.
Don't they have like a little, almost like a ladder on the side of them, or like steps or something like on the side of them?
These don't. The ones we have, all they have is the spot where the fork for the dump truck goes in. Right. But that was all I needed, even though I think it's purposely designed so it's not a step, because it's sloped at about a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
But I had sticky enough shoes on that I was able to put my foot up there and drag myself up over the edge.
Nice.
So anyways, after I got done doing that, I was just rode out the public desk until 9 p.m.
Nice.
Wednesday, after stopping off for a very large apple fritter on the way into work, I got there at 9 a.m. and immediately had the urge to jump back into that dumpster. I'm not exactly sure why.
Wait, what? Man, I wish I was going to let ChatGPT come up with the title this week, but I think you've given me 2 of them now. I had the urge to jump back into that dumpster. It's a pretty good one.
Luckily, I forced myself to walk right on by. And the first thing I did was started collecting books out of our collection for the annual Ernest Gaines Award. I have mentioned this last year when I did. Gaines, he was a prominent Louisiana writer who kind of chronicled the social and cultural attitudes of the South during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And he made a name for himself, made himself a little bit of money. Every year, his foundation, he's passed away now, gives out a $15,000 grant to a promising young writer of color. And this year's winner is a woman named S.C. Chambers for her novel Swift River, which is set in 1987 Massachusetts. And the story follows Diamond Newberry, the only Black teenager in a rural town, as she unravels her family's secrets that reshape her identity and connection to generations of African-American women. And I have not read this story, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
But what I do is I go back and I find all the previous winners. There's probably about 20 years of them now, and then try to collect all the books they've written, or at least all the ones that are in our collection, to make a big display out. And it's a big deal. The library makes a big deal out of it every October. So I got started by collecting all those books. At 10 a.m., I started a free 2-hour Canva course on YouTube, which I may have mentioned to you or not, by this guy called Bring Your Own Laptop. Or at least that's his handle on YouTube. He's really good at presenting. He has like 750,000 subscribers.
Wow.
So a lot of subscribers. And even running him at 1.5x in terms of speed, he's still quite understandable. I think he's a Brit, just by his accent. He does all kinds of software tutorials, but most of them related to graphic design in some way or another. I guess he's a professional graphics guy. I went through about half that 2-hour course in one sitting, learned a few things I didn't already know, which I then was able to take will be taken into my Canva class. And he also has a much larger course on Udemy that is 7.5 hours long. So this is basically what he's got on YouTube is just the first 2 hours of a 7.5 hour course. So I think I get to, with my library card, in fact, everybody with library card in our system gets free access to Udemy, all courses. So I'll probably go ahead and check that out.
Really?
At some point. Yeah, it's a really good deal. You ought to check your library.
I am going to check that out.
Yeah, see if they do the same thing. After lunch, I had to take over a seat at the public desk, but things were quiet again, so I was able to break out the computer and do some editing. I really hadn't touched the file in over 2 weeks. Like I said, I hadn't done anything. I decided I was going to start right back at the very beginning, even though I had gone through the first couple of chapters and already edited them. And I promised I was going to devote at least an hour a day to it. Of course, after 2 days, I didn't. But mainly, I wanted to do this so I didn't forget the thread of the story. And I did manage to add 97 new net words to the story in that first chapter that I re-edited. So there were still some things. Well, there was a couple things. Number one, it was still kind of stilted, which happens to me when I'm writing first drafts, because I don't necessarily worry about making things sound smooth. So I usually have to go a couple times over it in order to get them smooth out. And this one's much better. Also, the original draft of this story I wrote from a female point of view, a younger female point of view, a college age student, like I tend to do for all my stories. I don't know why. I decided for this story, as I go back and I re-edit it, I'm going to make the main character an old guy like me.
Okay.
So that I can exactly. So I can write what I know, and maybe have it a little bit more believable, because I'm also changing it from third person to first person. And so the character that I'm writing in now as the main character is a retired cop from Chicago who has relocated in retirement after a divorce to a Gulf of America, Gulf of America town, where there is a college, and he stumbles stumbles into a platonic relationship with a college student that's there.
Okay.
And they are the ones that will be solving mysteries in this series. Thursday, it was just a wild day around the library. I'm not sure. I mean, there was people flowing everywhere, but I did manage to steal away for a couple hours during the day. And I did more work on the story, but instead of editing, it was more like writing fresh first draft stuff, because I decided that I really needed a new chapter in between chapter 1 and what was the old chapter 2, because I needed a better transition. I ended up with 2,356 new words in 2 hours. And basically how the story opens is this guy, the old guy, is the retired cop, is taking his dog out for a walk, an old basset hound that used to be on the force with him up in Chicago as a tracker dog. And he always religiously does this at 2 a.m. in the morning, which there'll be reasons for that later.
Okay.
And he's got a bad nose, in the sense, not the dog, but the guy's got a bad nose, because he
thanks for clarifying.
He, as will come out, as came out so far, it's because of COVID. So he lost his sense of smell, but also his nose has been broken a number of times while he was a policeman. So he just can't smell anything. Well, his dog is going wild at the first part in chapter 1. For an old dog, he's just going, he's whining and acting like a puppy and straining at the leash. So, and, the guy doesn't know, he doesn't have any idea why, but he just lets the dog, follows the dog like he always does, until he gets down close enough to the harbor where and they turn a corner, even he can smell the death on the air. So they make it down to the beach, and it turns out there's been a big fish kill. All right. So this kind of sets up, okay, well, why is he down there on the beach? And this is where he meets the girl on the beach who is an incurable insomniac. So she's always out wandering all over the place in the town in the middle of the night. But I decided this wasn't good enough. I didn't really know how to jump into there being a death, which in the original story, the death occurs inland at a museum. So I decided, you know what? I got this dog going wild on the leash. He's tied him to a signpost. Well, I decided that for chapter 2, this dog breaks free, and the guy and the girl have to chase the dog. And in the process of chasing the dog and running him down, they discover that in the middle of the harbor, floating amongst all these fish, is a dead body.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the transition I made into what is the dead fish are the inciting incident for the start of the story, or the smell is really. And then the real start of the story itself is the finding of the dead body. So I was kind of happy with that. And plus I added a bunch of new words, which is always fun.
Right.
So that was basically my Thursday. Friday through Sunday, I did nothing writing related, even though I promised myself I was going to do an hour of editing each day. I didn't. Instead, I worked on the garden and worked on the cement path. I'm down to the last probably 8 feet of the path that I need to do. And I did a bunch of cooking, I did a bunch of reading, nothing else.
Okay.
I did get up late on today. And the first thing I thought to myself is, to hell with it. I'm not going to go in. I'm going to call in sick. And I did. I called in sick. Then over breakfast, as I was putzing around the computer, I pulled up the work schedule for the week, and I realized, oh shit, there's only one person that's actually scheduled to come in today other than me. And that's my boss, my supervisor in our department. So I decided, okay, I'm going to relent. I'm going to go in. And I ended up, getting in there about an hour and a half late. And it's a good thing I did, because it was really crazy. And my supervisor, who is retiring in 2 weeks, and to be honest, she's only there physically. She is completely mentally checked out. And as far as she's concerned, she's just going to sit there and not do anything. And that's basically what she did. So I spent the next 4 hours running around like a nut until it started to rain. And then things calmed down because nobody wants to go out in the rain. So then when things calmed down, I decided, well, there's something that's been bugging me, and the thing that's been bugging me is this lack of portability of Scrivener between a Mac and a PC, number one, but also
Okay.
between a Mac and the web. So I started looking around for a
Oh, yay.
Scrivener-like product that it was compatible across all platforms and stuff. And I think I may have found it, and it's called WaveMaker.
Okay.
And it looks like Scrivener once you get it all set up, where you've got the chapters and stuff on the side, and you can move the chapters around and stuff just like you can in Scrivener. You can bring up chapters just by a click, which is the thing that bugged you the heck about Novel Crafter, where you couldn't do that.
Wait, you can what? Say it again.
Where you could just click on it, like chapter 2, and chapter 2 will pop up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you can do that with this. It's a very minimalist looking UI.
Okay.
It's got some built-in plotting stuff in terms of you can do mind maps, and you can use a snowflake method if you want to do that, or you can use cards. You can do that as well. So I'm going to play with this I played with it today.
Oh, yeah.
And I really liked it. I think it's really nice. There's very few in terms of bells and whistles. What's really nice is that it syncs to your Google Drive. So yeah, you could always have access to it. Any place you have access to Google Drive. It's what they called let's see, did I put it down here? A PWA, which I forget what that stands for in web development language.
You'd think as a web developer I would know.
Yeah.
But I actually don't know what that means.
But essentially what it is it will work online or offline. So
progressive web app.
Yeah. So you can save it locally and work on it, or you can have it when you have internet connection, it can be updated.
Atticus is the same thing. They have an app you can do. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
I figured it would be like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going to play with this and see how it goes and what it feels like.
Definitely keep checking in. I love writing software.
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
And just the fact that it's kind of got the structure of Scrivener without all the extra additional stuff on there, which I never use anyways.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to see what it's like. So that was not only what I did today, but it's also my running list of future things to do is to do some writing. I have already transferred in the first 2 chapters. Now, the only thing that's a little bit goofy, I don't know if it's goofy, it's about what you would expect from any web app, is it's saving your data in some kind of a proprietary format. So you can't just open it up with anything. But there is a button that allows you to export the whole thing as a doc file, as a Word doc file. So, and it exports it well formatted too, and you don't have to go through any hoops like you do for Scrivener in order to get the thing formatted right when you export. So
and I am scrolling and scrolling and scrolling on their website. I see nothing to do with pricing. Did you get a demo or?
It's free.
Really?
Yeah, it's a what do they call those?
A beta? Is it in beta?
No, because it's been around for a while. It's just a pay me what you want kind of thing in terms of support.
Really?
For development. Yeah. And I'm not sure how many years it's been around, but it's been around for a little while from just what I read someplace. For some reason I want to say 7 years, but I'm not exactly sure that's right.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and it's still under active development. So I think it's probably like a side project somebody had.
To be fair, I was scrolling on the wrong website.
Oh, okay.
Wavemaker.com is different than wavemaker.co.uk, which is what you were on.
Right.
Yeah,
and the actual app
via PayPal. Okay.
Yeah, the actual app is access to the app is wavemaker.cards for some reason, CARDS.
Okay.
But yeah, check it out because I think
I will.
I think you might like it, like the way it's laid out and the kind of things it does, because it doesn't try to get too fancy, and it does look a lot like Scrivener.
And they have a Patreon where you probably could do your like, hey, I'll pay them a monthly fee because I like them. I'll go to their Patreon and I'll give them X amount per month because I like them
right.
Yeah, which I'm happy to do. I do that for like riff tracks. I don't have to pay for anything. Like, everything's online. I have a account where I get free stuff, but I just choose to pay them $6 a month because I get so much enjoyment out of them for the last 25 years.
Right.
So yeah.
And the other thing that this does have a typewriter format. So when you click on it, you other than your browser bar at the top with the bookmarks and stuff, everything else goes blank on your screen.
Okay.
So yeah, it's nice for writing.
I'll definitely look into it. Yeah. Love it. And just let me give you a quick update. Detroit, Baltimore. The score is now 7-7. As both teams quickly scored in their first drives.
Wow.
Derrick Henry had a really long run for Baltimore, and Jameer Gibbs scored.
It'll be a shootout.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because I have so many fantasy guys in this game. I want high scoring.
Yeah,
to get me a lot of points. So
a lot of yards.
I don't have anything on my anything new on my running list of future things to do. Matthew J. Holmes course, do some drawings, and the Instagram style ad. I want to do both of those. In terms of my addictive, I have two on here. The first one is marking Jerry at jerryevanoff.com emails as spam, because holy cow, I get 3 to 5 a day of someone who read my book or was on my website or saw the podcast. They just love what it does, and they'd be happy to help me get that out to more people. My favorite is when somebody said, I read your book, and they basically just copy my blurb and put it in there as if they're just telling me what they read.
Right.
So I've been doing that it's been like months and months now, just marking the spam. And then all of a sudden, I want to say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I didn't get any emails. None. And I'm like, all of a sudden I think something's wrong with my email because I didn't get any spam emails. But then it started up today again, and I got like 3 or 4 throughout the day. So, holy cow. The second one, Rich, is the Mega Avalanche is back. That is the bike race that goes down the Alps in, I believe, France.
I haven't seen it.
It happened a couple of months ago, and every time around this time of the year, I go looking for YouTube videos because so many people that ride these bikes put helmets on their head, and then now they're getting better with the editing, where they'll put their current position in, their speed, as they're editing, and they're 45 minutes long, and I've watched like the 4th place runner and the 1st place runner, and it's so much fun.
So they have like a GoPro on their head.
Yeah. So just type Meg. It's Meg. It's Mega and Avalanche scrunched together to where it's Mega Avalanche.
Mega Avalanche.
Mega Avalanche. Yeah, Meg Avalanche basically. So go 2025. So go find a YouTube video on it and just watch one of them. It's so much fun. They go down. They start out in the snow and ice, and after about the first 3 or 4 minutes, they make a right in snow. They go down this path. People are crashing like crazy. It's like it's just survival of it's like, is it too early for me to make a D-Day joke? It's like them storming the beach where you're just watching the people around you falling and you keep going. I mean, that's all it is. And then they make a left and they go down a giant hill, and they're getting to like, 60, 70 kilometers per hour, which is probably around 30 or 40 miles an hour. And, they go fast. When they crash, they crash.
Yeah, I bet they do.
And then it turns in, it's snow for a little bit longer. Then it turns into like a rocky terrain. Then it turns into paths through like a field, like there's a path made, and they'll have passing lanes. Then they get into the trees, and they look like the speeder bikes in Return of the Jedi, going through. I don't know how they don't run into trees. It's unbelievable. So it's a lot of, and then they finish in this little finish line. It's so much fun to watch. And I've watched a bunch of them over the last 3 or 4 days. So yeah.
I thought what you were going to say about the emails as spam is that you marked yourself as spam, and that's why you weren't getting any emails.
I've seen some of the emails I write. It's not a terrible idea. Yeah.
Well, I don't have any addicted to. When we started off the podcast, something occurred to me that I do have something to say addicted to, and now it's just completely gone. So maybe my addicted to is not being able to remember anything anymore.
Yeah. So. In terms of my week coming up, this is a pretty basic fall, autumn style week for me. And I'm really happy to be saying that I'm not going anywhere. I'm working my 4.5 days, taking for a half day Friday. My plan this week is to edit book 1.5 and get it finished. And basically what that means is do a whole first revision on it, go through, make sure the story's okay, make changes where I need to make them, and then do another revision where I read it out loud to myself, run it through Grammarly, and then call it done. I'm hoping that's a big ask, I know, to get that all that done in the next 7 days, especially since I'm probably going to golf Sunday and won't have a writing day Sunday. So we'll see what happens. I'll start Tuesday. Tomorrow I'm working from home. I wasn't planning on doing any writing, but because I want to get this done in a week, I'm going to do I might open it up and do a little bit of writing or do a little bit of editing. We'll see. Wednesday I'm in the office. Wednesday and Thursday both I'm in the office. I'll continue editing the book at lunch. Friday is a half day. I'll leave around 11. This is probably where I get the most done. I'll do a whole bunch of editing. Probably go somewhere Buffalo Wild Wings or Hothead and do as much as I can. Saturday and Sunday I actually have a 7:20 tea time both days. I haven't golfed Saturday and Sunday in about a month because the course we golf at has outings all the time. But this week they're clear. So I have a 7:20 on Saturday. There are 4 of us, so I probably won't be done until like 11:30. I won't be home till like 12:30, but then I'll be off and somewhere to write. Sunday I have another 7:20. It'll either just be me by myself or me and my buddy Tim. So it'll be quick. I'll be done by 10. I'll be home by 11. But I won't write. There's football Sunday, so I will be getting ready for football, fantasy football.
Is that 7:20? Is that about sunrise by you now, or?
It's a little bit. I think it might be a little bit earlier, maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier. But that was the first tea time that was blocked off.
Okay.
I just said give me the earliest one. So
yeah, okay.
And then Monday, I'll work from home. I'll edit at lunch. And again, the goal is to be able to call this book done by this time next Monday. I don't know if I'll have it done, but the goal is to do that because I really need to get into book 2. Because again, that December 16th is not getting any farther away. It's getting closer every day, and I haven't started the editing of book 2 yet. So I need to start.
Right. Well, my coming week, I'm working 7 days in a row, counting today. Ooh. So I'm going to recommit right now to do at least an hour a day of editing if I can. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky because, like I said, I've got a boss who's checked out. I've got another coworker who's on vacation this week, and then we got the one coworker who you never know if she's going to show up or not because she's got all kinds of disabilities. So it'll be tricky. It will depend on whether or not we have a lot of foot traffic, but I'm going to try really hard to try to get at least an hour a day in every day this week. Monday, next day off, or will be a day off, because of working on a Sunday. So what I'm probably going to do is spend it packing because I'll be going to Detroit on Wednesday of the following week. But we'll see. I mean, if I can make it through the next 3 or 4 chapters, that'll be really, that'll make me happy. And we'll see what happens. Because I am doing, like I said, some really major editing, changing the POV, changing really the main character. But it's also, for what I've done so far, it's flowing better because it's like you say, you're writing about what you know. So, in terms of stuff to share, I've talked in the past on this podcast about the podcast that's run by Richard Osman and Marina Hyde called The Rest is Entertainment. Well, there's a number of other podcasts in that family of podcasts. And the new one I've started listening to is The Rest is Classified by a guy named David McCluskey, who's an ex-CIA analyst and a security correspondent by the name of Gordon Carrera. And basically, it's like a true crime podcast, except for spies and espionage, which is really interesting. And they go deep into the background of all kinds of interesting things that you would have heard of a little bit if you followed the news, but you may not have known what was really involved in it. And the one I've started, which has been fascinating so far, is a 5-part series and almost 5 hours of podcasts on the hunt for Pablo Escobar and the notorious Mexican drug lord. Mm-hmm. So it's a really cool. They talk about really cool stuff and gives you a look into the shadowy world of intelligence gathering, and how the spooks actually do it. So
sounds great. I just subscribed to it on my phone.
So it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of mine, I'm going to call this stuff to share and updates. And the first update I'll give is that short story you read is 65 words. So that's not even 100 words, which is surprising. Okay. Yeah. It felt like more than 100. And it's only 65. So you could add 30 more words to that and then enter it into that contest. I need to look up that contest. I enjoyed that, even though I didn't make it very far. But that was so long ago. I need to look into that again.
Yeah, it's been a couple years probably, right?
Oh, it's been, I think, before COVID.
Oh, really? Okay.
I can't remember. I don't know if I feel like it was, but you and I weren't podcasting back then, so I'm not even sure now.
Yeah.
When it was. So, all right. Update number 2. I'm just going to give a quick fantasy football update. My Vegas leagues. Now, I'm just going to say it's going well.
Okay.
We'll just leave it at that because I don't want to put anything out into the universe that's going to ruin that.
That's right. You don't want to jinx it.
It's going well, Rich. Stream Deck update. I talked about Stream Deck last week, wanting to set it up for my writing.
Right.
I don't want to just bring it up last week and then never mention it again. I have not done anything with the writing, but I have set it up. In fact, if I show it to the camera, you can see that I've set it up so far with these icons, which are for when I record my APBA football game. Mm-hmm. I've got the different views in OBS. Some show the screen, some show my desk, and I can just easily click and I got the play and pause set up. I want to set it up with an applause and a boo sound or maybe a whistle sound or something like that. But I did some searching yesterday, and I can't find anything with Riverside for us to use. For me to use it while we're podcasting. There's not like a Riverside plugin, which is surprising because Riverside's popular. So I don't know why there's not a plugin. So I'm going to have to manually do those. But I've watched enough videos to know it's actually really easy to do, even the manual stuff. For writing, I want to set it up for some Scrivener stuff that I do inside of Scrivener, and I want to set it up to open certain websites that I like. Mm-hmm. It'll be weird taking it with me to like Hothead and setting it up so like I just push buttons. But I'm not there yet. But I am still. That is something I'm going to do. I just haven't taken the time to do it yet.
Kind of as an aside, Johnny Truant is using Riverside for his university.
Oh, okay.
Too. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, good.
So I think it is. I think it is becoming a lot more popular.
Yeah, and it's cheap and it does a lot of stuff. So, so the last thing is more of the stuff to share. It's the latest Book Funnel podcast. I don't know if you listen to that at all. I've been listening to it for like 8 months or so. I really like it. No. They did an episode today with Russell, and I think it's Nolte, and I know him from somewhere. I don't know if he presented at 20 Books, but his name is familiar to me. Okay, his name is familiar. He basically went on about a 60 to 75 minute rant. He wasn't yelling or screaming. He was just, this is who he is, talking about how authors and the things they do right and the things they do wrong, including very kindly telling one of the co-hosts, why are you doing it that way? That's you shouldn't be doing it that way. You basically took a product that makes you money and you pushed it aside for something that you wanted to do so that you could try to make a product that makes you money, but you already have a product. It's really funny. It's really fun to listen to. Yeah. She kind of says, "Oh, yeah, maybe you're right." It was very interesting to listen to, but it was a really good podcast. It was the latest one against the Book Funnel podcast with Russell Nolte as the guest. I would definitely suggest going back and listening to it because I didn't walk away with all like this checklist of things to do, but he gave me a couple of ideas about marketing that I'm going to try later on down the road. Once I get 3, 4, 5 books out, and so definitely go listen. It was really good.
Yeah, well, the thing about Nolte, I've followed him off and on over the years. He's very opinionated. Yes. And he's extremely manic, especially when he's not on his meds.
Yes.
So
you can tell by listening to this. I mean, the first question, one of the segments they do early on is, give me one piece of advice for the reader. So then they go around the room and they give one piece of advice. Mostly it's going to be something in Book Funnel because that's what they work with. 3 people that host it. And they got to him, and his advice was this thing that took about 40 minutes to talk about. So it was like, it was very fun. It was just enjoyable. I enjoyed listening to it today. I would suggest it.
He has worked in the past. In fact, they worked pretty closely for a year or two with Monica Lionel.
I think he's talked about her in the podcast. I think he talks about her.
Yeah. So, you can find a lot of YouTube videos and stuff online with them.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it for me. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm pretty much done. I wish I could remember what I've been addicted to, but I guess isn't that kind of what addictions are like? You've got them, but you can't see them. The other people do. Somebody will have to make an intervention or something.
I would say, Rich, more than anything, I would just say congratulations.
About getting back to running?
Because you forgot about it, you've managed to kick your addiction, I would say.
Right. Okay.
So there you go. So congrats on that one. All right. You got through all 12 steps and didn't even realize it. All right. Well, that's going to be it for the podcast this week. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me, jerry@jerryevanoff.com. I promise I probably won't mark you as spam. The website is jerryevanoff.com. And that's fine for now. That's fine.
Okay. And if you want to email me, my address is rich@richkacy.com. And I'm still over on BlueSky at Kacy himself.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we will talk to you again 1 week from today.
Yeah. Have a great week.